support your boy's channel, subscribe below, and even bless your boy, my cash app, 3 Dre Dog. That's right, 3 Dre Dog. If you like the content, bless your boy by hitting the cash app for me, okay? But definitely hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be providing more and more content for you on my YouTube channel, okay? So let's get at it, okay? You know I'm a Penn State fan because I bleed blue and white, because I put my blood, sweat, and tears at that university, at Beaver Stadium, on that campus, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other men before me and since after I left that campus. So I wanted to take the time to really look at that game last night. Second largest crowd. Hats off to all the blue and white faithful, even some of my former teammates and a lot of guys I know that made the trip back to State College, back to Happy Valley, and was there for the second largest crowd ever. I believe the official numbers are 111,015 of the faithful Penn State fans were there and are all crispy white, representing the whiteout. Unfortunately, the good guys came up short in double overtime, and I just want to share a few minutes with you. We came up on the wrong side of a 30-24 score, okay? All of us watched the game. Slow first half, okay? At the half, we're 3-3, but second half started picking up. Unfortunately, it was the Oregon Ducks that had the more, I guess you would say, precise, the more consistent, and even at times it looked like they had the more explosive players out there on offense. You know, they just started, making some more explosive, and they ended up running off 17 consecutive points to take a lead of 17-3 early in the fourth quarter before we were able to rally and really lean on our offensive, I think what it is, our offensive strength, our running game. Even Drew got more into the running game last night. But that's what really got us back into this game. We rallied for 14 consecutive points to tie the game and force overtime. And then we saw what happened there. We go up, score, get the extra point. They, in turn, score, get the extra point. And then in overtime, they make the play very, very quickly. And they score, in the overtime rules in college. You got to go for two in second overtime period. And subsequently after that, they failed. So everything was looking right for Penn State because we had the momentum. We were leaning on them. We were getting what we wanted out of the running game. But on 1st and 10, very first play of our second possession of that overtime period, we put the hands we put the game in the hands of our quarterback because I believe the offensive coordinator liked the play. He liked the coverage that he was seeing. He wanted to be aggressive, and unfortunately, the execution wasn't there, and the ball was intercepted as Drew was thrown out to his right, by number 31. I believe his name was Dylan. I'm going to butcher his last name, but the defensive back, number 31 for Oregon, was there to make that play. If I recall right, and I looked at the play a couple of times, I don't think the ball had much of a chance. I believe there was actually 3 defenders in the area, and number 31 happened to go up and high point the ball and make the play, thus ending our night, breaking the hearts of over 111,000 in attendance, but many millions across the globe who love the blue and white. Now, okay, let me go a little bit more into what I'm doing this video for, because I've been in a conversation with many of my former teammates that love Penn State. We're always talking and emailing and we're texting during the games, and we're big fans of the game. And I said, you know what, fellas, man, let's come up with something. We can talk about the game collectively, post-game, good, bad, and ugly. Let's just talk about, what we see in the game and just give a nice little thorough analysis. You'll be pleasantly surprised, but not surprised. But the men that play football at Penn State, these are some of the smartest individuals I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. So I look forward to their analysis. Everything from recruiting. We have a lot of our former players that are heavy into the study of Penn State's recruiting process, the recruits that are currently on the campus, the recruits that are committed over the next couple of years. So we want to get on a podcast and share and let you hear from them because they're brilliant men, and you'll also get a little behind the scenes about the process and who to look for, future Nittany Lion football players. But you're going to also hear from some of the greatest players that ever made plays at Beaver Stadium and in Penn State uniforms, talking about what they see during the games. You know, guys that played all the different positions. Again, I can't really get into the deep waters of route running like many of the other guys can, or some of the schematics and some of the techniques that the defensive backs that will come on and has played at Penn State and played on Sundays will be able to get to you, or even some of the subtleties about defensive line or offensive line play, quarterback play, or running back play. We're going to have all that represented to you so you get a thorough analysis of what's going on from the perspective of experts at those different positions. Now, let me just go overall a couple of statistics in what I observed. Oregon, their quarterback, sophomore, Mr. Moore, Dante Moore. Let me tell you something. This young man, I didn't realize he was as big as he was, but his stats say he's a 6'3" kid, north of 200 pounds, 205, 210. But what impressed me about this young man, again, sophomore, okay, did you see the poise in which that young man played? We, meaning Penn State, we have a championship defense. We got dudes all over our defense, from the front all the way to the back. All 11 of our dudes can play, and even the guys that come in there and are different sub packages. We got some dudes on defense, okay? And we registered 0 sacks. We got some pressure, but this kid, this young man, 29 of 39, 3 tuds, made no errors, okay? That was impressive. And again, we have a high-pressure, attacking, tough, great. That's why they can only get 3 points. It was a dogfight for them to get to 17 points. We didn't just roll over and give those points to them. We needed a little bit more support from our offense, but hats off to our defense to slow a team down like Oregon, the high-powered weaponry that they have. But it all started with Dante Moore at the quarterback position. Very, very impressive night with him. And also, they got some, I'm going to take this from Dick Vitale. Forgive me, Dick Vitale, but let me steal this from you. They had 2 diaper dandies, meaning 2 freshmen out there. Mr. Hill, number 23, that runs the ball. Hey, let me tell you something. You talk about track, elite speed. Now, what I observed, that young man had 10 carries, 80, I believe 82 rushing yards. Okay, that's 8.2 yards every time he ran the ball. 10 carries, okay? They rushed the ball. They had 39 rushes, total rushes. He had almost about, what would that be, like 25% of those touches when they ran the ball. And he was the threat to go the distance, it seemed like, every time he touched that ball. I was very, very impressed with that young man, 4-star young man out of Illinois, Bellevue, something like that, out of Illinois. But very, very impressive young man. Diaper Dandy number 1. The other one was their wide receiver. That young man, very, very impressive. This young man is out of Texas. Okay? Phenomenal player. Made some big-time catches. Again, our secondary is probably the best in the country. And the way Coach Smith and the other coaches that coach our secondary and recruit that secondary, our defensive backfield for years has been elite. We put guys out of our secondary every year into the pros, and they go on and play very, very successful on Sundays. So when I see a freshman wide receiver come in and make the kind of plays he made on the road, and his biggest game of his collegiate career, hats off. really impressed with their offensive line and their tight end. Tight end, big, strong, athletic guy. But their offensive line, like I said, we have the top defense in the country. Top defense, arguably up there with Ohio State in the Big Ten. And like I said, we couldn't get more on the ground. I thought that was very, very key. We couldn't elicit the sort of pressure where we would get that young man on the ground. We couldn't even rattle him again. You're 29 out of 39. You're pretty daggone good. You're pretty efficient. More importantly, you're accurate. But not only did I like Dante Moore's poise, the quarterback position now, you're watching on Saturdays or Sundays, because defenses are so good, so elite like our defense, it puts pressure on every offense, meaning you're not going to be able to stay on schedule, meaning you're not going to be able to go 1, 2, 3, look at that first option, look at that second option, get rid of the ball. Defenses are the edge. We got some edge rushers. That's what we do. We build them and we distribute them to the NFL every year. So we have guys that are going to get quarterbacks off schedule. And as good as I praise Oregon's offensive line, we got enough pressure. But Dante Moore is able to play off schedule. And that's what the quarterback position is right now. You got to be able to make plays off schedule and be accurate. And he did that all night. And there was a play that needed to be made with his arms, or if he needed to move the chains, Mr. Moore did that. So they did what they needed to do, but they also, I think, now let me talk about our side of the ball, Penn State offensively. We just never got into a rhythm. I'm trying to think. I think our best, matter of fact, I know, and I think you guys will agree. I know the former players agree, and I know all of you Penn State fans, Penn State football fans, you watch enough Penn State football to know that Mr. Allen and Mr. Singleton, we're talking number 13 and number 10, they're our best offensive football players, okay? And they got to get their touches. When I just look at the numbers, our guys just aren't touching the ball enough, or we're just not getting the production. You got to give Oregon some credit from last night. But when I look at Mr. Allen getting 12 rushes for 54 yards, decent night. And I know you got to give some of those carries to Singleton, but Singleton, they bottled up 11 carries, 21 yards, I believe. That's just not enough production. So what we got to find a way when we play these high-level teams. Again, Oregon came in number 6 in the country. Oregon is the same team, as we all know. That's the team that got us into a track meet in the Big Ten championship game last year. So we know the quality of players that Oregon has. RDC was at Ohio State last year. They played against our defensive coordinator twice. They know how tough our defensive coordinator is. So they were prepared for what they were going to see schematically from him. And I think they did enough to keep us off balance at the appropriate time. But they had game changers on that side. For us, it wasn't until we got desperate, to be totally honest, when we started to really sense the urgency of this game. And thank goodness our defense is so good, because it gave us the opportunity to hang around. Oregon couldn't land that knockout punch because our defense is championship caliber. I don't know why we struggle, and this is where some people already hit me up, and you see the social media going crazy about our quarterback. He's been there 3 years. He's getting outplayed by a sophomore. He can't win the big game. Yes, he can. Okay, Drew, in my opinion, is a high-level game manager. Okay, I did high-level game manager. Okay, I did see him with a little happy feet last night. Sometimes, and I'm being fair to the kid, because again, I don't know the play calls. I'm watching it from TV, from my comfortable couch. Okay, watching the game. but he just doesn't have to make the big mistakes. And I think for 3 quarters, he did that. He didn't hurt us. He did what he was asked to do. Our defense kept it close. And in the fourth quarter, when it was called upon Drew to make some big throws down the field, what did he do? Hit that corner route for a touchdown, big time throw. Now, you can't tell me the man can't throw or the man can't show up in big games and he makes that throw at that moment. You just can't tell me that. The young man is talented. He's doing what he's asked to do, not turn the ball over. It's clear. It's clear to me. And again, when I have some of my former teammates and guys I know that played at Penn State, when we're able to get on the podcast and talk about Drew in a deeper fashion, I'm going to love to hear their opinion on it. But what I see in particular from last night's game, Drew executed the game plan. Game plan was do no harm. Okay, we're gonna be more conservative, and when the opportunity is there, whether or not it's a urgent matter, meaning hey, the clock is down, then we're going to take the training wheels off, and I think that's what they did in the fourth quarter. I like the way I believe he had 9 carries, close to 50 yards, 40 plus yards last night. Some of that is off schedule, but when you look at that zone read and he kept it on the inside, the quarterback keep, for big yardage, and then what happens? When they were in the close red zone, they give a similar look. The defense bites and attacks him, and he gives it, and we go around for a big play. So, again, I think down the stretch, I love the creativeness and some of the play calling down the stretch. I think the offense was by design, and it may be something that a lot of the Penn State fans, and me at times, may feel like, come on, we've been a little bit too conservative. Sometimes people, they have a game plan. They know their talent, and as frustrating as some of us may be during the course of watching the game, you got to look at it. 2 touchdowns is enough. Our defense is out of control. They're doing what they need to do, and we were able to start to flip the momentum there in the fourth quarter, tied the game up, and we're at home. At that point, we get the ball first, and we score. That should be the ball game right there. Okay, that should be the ball game. But Oregon, they have some tremendous players. They have a great coach, and they have great scheme. They have great belief because they've been in big games. Okay, they just came into the Big Ten 2 years ago, and they are right there at the top of the pecking order with Ohio State, Michigan, us, and Oregon. Is no longer the Big Three. It's the Big Four. Those are the Big Four teams out of this 18-team conference, and every year is going to come down to which of the 2 of these 4 are going to be competing for the Big Ten title and potential number 1 seed overall for the college football playoffs. So yesterday, I saw some good things, and at the top of that, I liked our defense. Again, I'm going to over and over again talk about our defense coordinator, our secondary, our front, our ability, even though we got gashed a little bit, in the run game, nothing got out of control. Okay, nothing got out of control. And again, you're talking about a defense and we only ran, I believe, offensively 58, 60 plays, somewhere around there. They had almost, I believe, 20 more plays than that. I think they were near 80 plays, if my math is correct, at 39 rushes, 39 passes. So what was that, 78 plays? So they almost had 20 more plays than we did offensively. So our defense was there, being leaned on. But again, what did they do? So our defense was there, being leaned on. But again, what did they do? They were there. They battled. They did everything possible to give us or put us in a position to win that game. Just, you win some, you lose some. I mean, you play these big time games, ultimately somebody's going to have to lose. And again, the polls reflect that. We came in at number 3. Our polls came out earlier today. We dropped down to number 7, and what happens? Oregon came in at number 6. Now they vault up to number 2 because they beat a number 3 team in what was a legit contest. Now, a couple final thoughts. On where we are. It's a long season. I messaged one of my homeboys from the crib, from Pennsylvania, from New York, that's on the other coast, about a comment he made on Facebook. I said, yo, no Penn State slander, man. And I meant that in all love. No Penn State slander. He was going in on, our head ball coach's record in big time games and all that. I'm like, hey, no slander. I'm not here for that. You're going to lose, in my opinion. If you coach long enough and you playing in these big games, if you look at it from Joe to many of these all-time great coaches, you play enough big-time teams, your record's going to reflect, you're probably going to be more negative than you're positive over the long haul, because it's just how it is. Because you're not always going to be ranked, in the top 5. A lot of times you're going to be outside of the top 5, playing with a team that's ranked in the top 5 or the top 10, and you're the underdog. So you're in the underdog situation. That's what I really look at. How many times is Penn State an underdog in these games, and we come on the other end? You let me know in those comments. You guys can, share those things. I didn't look that research up because I didn't want to go into that tonight. But, like I said, I gave my man a little message. It's all love, but no Penn State slander. It's a long year. That's my big thoughts. Again, Ohio State lost last year, right? We remember that, don't we? Ohio State did lose, okay? They did lose during the year to, their rival, okay? And what did they do? They ran the table in the playoffs. So it's a new era for college football. The one thing that I look, as I, close these thoughts is this. The one thing I didn't like going into this game is I didn't like our soft schedule. Our first 3 games, just way too soft. And, as me and some of the guys are talking about it, we're going back and forth that, we don't look so good. Some of us are saying, well, maybe we're not showing everything. But deep down inside, we all knew that, if you play that sort of schedule, it's going to hinder you in some aspects, especially offensively. Defensively, we dominate. I mean, defense is going to be what it is, okay? But when you look at the 3 opponents that we played, and you saw some of the challenges, or just we weren't as crisp on the offensive side. We weren't really challenged. Again, there's no preseason in college football, okay? So that's why you got to your schedule really has to lay out, prepare you, because if you're not really banging, or you're not really stressed before you go against a top 10 team, a fringe top 5 team. Again, Oregon was number 6. And again, the reigning Big Ten champ. If you really don't have anything to really tune you up, and then, right before the big matchup, we had a bye week, we got to start, rethinking. Maybe we schedule a top 25 opponent out of these first 4 weeks before we take on a big time opponent. Maybe we don't do a bye week. Maybe we have a lesser team so we keep our rhythm. All these different types of things you think about. But it's a long season. A lot more games ahead of us. We got to go to Columbus, and we got to take on that team. But everything's lined up for us this season. So we run the table, go and beat that team, make it to the Big Ten championship, win that game. Then we put ourselves in position to have a number 1 seed, and then make a run in the playoffs. Everything is about us. I don't think our offense is going to underperform like this anymore during the course of the year. You play a team like this, you go back to the whiteboard, you make the correction anymore during the course of the year. You play a team like this, you go back to the whiteboard, you make the corrections. We're healthy. We've gotten a lot of experience now. We're integrating our wide receiver one. Missed off season. He was hurt. A lot of time now. He's coming in and he's putting points on the board. We're only going to get better on the offensive side. And lastly, a couple of things. Coach Franklin is a very, very, very great coach. Matter of fact, this is where I talk about slander. Some of the people that say, yeah, Franklin is, he's not this. Franklin is the best coach for our program. He's an elite recruiter, okay? Elite recruiter. He's taken us to heights that we have never been. We're in a new era of football. We're in the conversation for the best program, and we are in the games that we need to be in from a high-profile standpoint, but also to make the run at a national championship. I believe Coach Franklin will win a championship, and in fact, I believe he will win multiple championships at Penn State. So we could chill on that noise about Franklin this, Franklin that. It's a new era of football. You're going to lose a football game, okay? It happens. All it's about is getting to the playoffs, having your team playing at a high level when you hit the playoffs, and then you make that run, okay? And you go and get that title. So that's what I want to say about Coach Franklin. He's my coach. He's our coach. No slander on Coach Franklin, nor his staff. Let me tell you, matter of fact, let me say this, because me and a few other buddies, we often talk about this. You know the sign of a great program when other colleges and universities are always hiring guys off your staff, okay? Now, you tell me how many head ball coaches out there coaching currently has had as many guys come from their tree go on to be head coaches at other programs. Franklin's at the top of the list. I mean, he's always replacing an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator. You know why? Because he runs an elite program. Elite program. He has coaches that are being taken away from him every year. Okay, so that's a sign of a great leader who has built a great program. And please, let's not talk about the number of elite players that get drafted every year in the NFL. Okay, so that being said, number two, and this is the only other thing that I need to say in closing, our quarterback is very good. Okay, he's doing what he's being coached to do. He's not being asked to do things beyond his talents. Okay, he is coached to do. He is who he is, and he's leading and has set many, many records playing quarterback for our Nittany Lion football team. He is the guy there. He will continue to win games, and he's going to make a run this year because it's all there for him. He has two great running backs. He has a great offensive line. He has weapons on the outside. And he has a very, very good offensive coordinator who's calling a good football game for us to win football games. So am I disappointed? Of course I'm disappointed. But you know what? I saw enough in coming out of that football game that I understand it's a long football year. One game, it'd be different if it was 30-6 or 30-10. It wasn't that sort of game, It was not that sort of game. We had an opportunity to close the deal in the second overtime. We just didn't get it done. A lot of that happens Saturday nights. If you watch football on Sunday, it happens every Sunday with teams that can't close the deal. So when you're looking at young college football players, it happens. But we had the opportunity to redeem ourselves. Nobody's going to look back on the Oregon game once we go to Ohio State and beat them, once we win the Big Ten championship, and once we make a run in the playoffs, make the Final Four, and then ultimately win the championship this year. Nobody's going to look back at the pass that our quarterback threw Saturday night, September 7th against Oregon. Okay? So look here. I hope you enjoyed a few thoughts that I talked about this Oregon game. Please leave some comments down there. I'd love to respond to them. Love to talk some more Penn State football. Again, you guys know out there who I'm talking to about getting on the camera and let's breaking down some Penn State football and let's have a good time, interact with all the other people that love Penn State football. So don't cry too long. You know, you got 24 hours to be upset. It's 24 hours almost by the time I'm concluding this podcast here. Because, again, I'll share this with you. First half of the game, you know, I had taken my wife out to a nice establishment last night, you know, because, you know, her birthday was Friday. So, you know, I had his birthday weekend. Okay. So we go to this very, very nice establishment. And we have a sitting area. And, you know, there's a beautiful TV. So we, you know, asked the people to turn the game on. We're watching the first half. And one of our servers there is definitely nervous as it's getting halftime. He was like, "Dre, man, you know, we got to know each other." He said, "Dre, man, I shouldn't bet. I got to stop gambling." I said, "What you talking about?" He said, "Man, I bet on this game, man, and if this hits, you know, I'm gonna make another $700, man." I said, "Well, what did you bet on?" He said, "Man, I took the over." The number was 54. He said, "Man, I got to get this game into overtime just to have a chance the way it's going." So, as you know by the score, 30-24, my man last night is sicker than any Penn State fan because he lost a lot of money on that game because Oregon didn't make that two and Penn State failed to score a second touchdown. So, imagine that, you know, feeling like you lost at halftime for only the score to rally in your favor and it come down to one play in the game and you kiss the baby, you lose a lot of money. So keep that in mind as I wrap this up. It could be worse, Penn State fans, okay? You could be the guy that I met last night during the first half watching this game. You could be out thousands of dollars, but you're not. We just lost one football game, all right? So that's me talking about our beloved Penn State football. Leave your comments. Give me some suggestions. We're going to talk more. Hey, you know what? Matter of fact, you know, maybe we can go live after one of these post games, man. We can all interact live, real time. You know, get people cammed up, or at least get your comments, read your comments live on air, man. Live on the live stream, and you know, really have a good time. But until then, as we always greet each other like the notoriously great baritone Don Cornelius would say, love, peace, and we are.